news,
Lobbyists are fed up with politicians accepting their money and then not coming through.
opinion,
When the automated police force orders you inside, that's just them doing their job.
remix.
Even lost my job partially due to the whole global warming issue. Increase in oil prices. This guy's scared.
This is Top Story with Kelly Klass and Jill Skeen,
I've been a listener for about 20 years.
How can you make me feel better?
where the news meets your opinion. Pick up the phone and talk about it. 736-0300. That's 736-0300. Now, here's the hosts of Top Story, Kelly Klass and Jill Skeen.
Excuse me, I gotta make a phone call here. I'm gonna call a taxi. I have to make a bank withdrawal today, and I need them to pick me up in my rascal scooter when I'm done. I don't know, my gosh. You know, you read about these things. This is the next thing Idaho is going to be famous for now, is robbing a bank in a wheelchair.
In a wheelchair.
Yeah.
In a wheelchair, and then being asked to take him to the smoke shop afterwards. Right. Now that I've got some money, I want to spend it. Now that's like, distributing it back into the economy.
Well, there you go. Taken from the rich and giving to the poor.
There you go. The Robin Hood robber.
Oh, my gosh. I don't know. I heard that. My first reaction, and I read it on Facebook as a news item, and my wife... I was reading it to my wife, and her first reaction?
What?
She laughed.
Yeah. Well, I said to you, because in this story, they kind of focused, the one that I've read, they kind of focused more on the cab, and the dispatch and this and that.
Yeah.
And you told me the bank gave him money. Why?
Well, I think it's common practice. They just don't argue with them. If somebody comes in, wants to rob the bank, they, for the better of their employees, they just let them have it, get them out of the bank, and then they let the police handle it.
See, my thought is, why not have money that is play money that looks really real, like real money that you give them? I mean, they're not going to sit there and look at it because, the cops are coming. So why not give them something that looks very close to real money?
Actually, that's a good question, and I don't know how the banks in this area handle that. I know there have been... they have these little packets of money that have an exploding dye packet in them.
Why give them real money?
I know every once in a while you hear about one of those exploding after a bank heist, but I don't know what their policy is.
Because some of the stuff looks quite real. I mean, just pack it up, have it all in the cash register or near where they can grab it.
Yeah.
And they're giving him fake money. And then when he goes back to the cab.
But then if they were successful and they got out there and they were distributing counterfeit money, then that might be another problem.
No, I don't say counterfeit, but stuff that looks like real but maybe play, that it's fake. Like you could have a different face on one of the bills.
Could have Obama's face on it.
Yeah, maybe.
Something that you knew was
the
fake.
rest looks very real, but you clearly know it's not real money until you take it outside.
I don't know. Well, we got a caller.
All
so maybe
right,
some.
good
By the way,
morning.
welcome to Top Story.
Yeah.
736-0300. Always the number to call. We have coming up the folks from Magic Valley Speedway. Now the race coming up this weekend. We have Kirk Tubbs from the Twin Falls County Pest Abatement District. He's going to tell us how to handle these skeeters. Yes.
They had a West Nile case
in Haley.
Yeah.
So it's getting pretty close.
And that's our new Wednesday music.
Yeah, Benny Hill there.
Yeah.
And then at 9 o'clock, Twin Falls City Councilman Chris Talkington will be in for State of the City. We got a caller. Top Story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, lovely Jill.
Good morning.
Listen, Kelly, you want to do this flaming liberal favor, but do it this time, please. Can you play Kila Go for another beautiful Jewish East Coast lady, Lauren Bacall today?
Can I play? I missed what you said.
Key Largo?
Kila Go. There you go. That's the name of the song. This song from the 80s.
Yes.
Play that song, cowboy. Thank you.
All
Key
right.
Largo.
There
So
you
where does
go.
that fit into the scheme of life?
I don't know.
He just likes
but
the
now
song?
it's requests. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe for Wednesday song.
Yeah.
Since somehow the Wednesday
Maybe
song
for-
was mysteriously
I know
booted
our,
off
our
the
little hump day thing.
computer.
I don't know what happens. That after a while on here, they expire if you don't renew them.
You
and
didn't like
they
it
go
anyway.
Into oblivion land.
You didn't like it.
Well, it was getting kind of old.
Oh,
you know?
stop! I
mean,
like the Benny Hill one, but anyway, back to the robbery. I feel bad for the driver. It's so funny. She's just like, this is weird. I'm surrounded by cops.
Yeah, what's going on?
And I'm outside of a First Fed.
And dispatch was yelling at her, stop the car and get out.
Get out
Stop
of the
car and get out.
Get out of the car. Was the guy in the car at the time? I guess so.
Apparently so. So I don't know so they had to, the taxi had to load up his wheelchair, get him in the vehicle, load up his wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering how the suspect, who is 60-year-old Robert Bauer of Twin Falls, how he figured that he was going to outrun the police.
Well, he had a cab.
Well,
I'm sorry, he had a cab.
well, that must have been his reasoning. Okay,
because,
well, hey,
you
I've got
know,
a
a guy in a wheelchair, you don't think, wow, I'm picking up a bank robber, and I'm now the accessory. So she takes him to First Fed, like probably anyone would do, because you would think, of course, how does this guy get to First Fed? He probably doesn't drive. Some people do. Some have cars that are adjusted. Some don't. And probably she didn't think twice until she's surrounded by police and doesn't realize she has a bank robber in the back. And
anyway.
your great idea was, what did you say before the show? Everyone should just be armed. All the tellers should be armed.
Yeah.
Because
I think that would fix it. If every bank teller in the country walked around with a 6-gun strapped to their hip, that would fix the bank robbery problem. It
because
really would.
nothing makes your day quite like shooting a man in a wheelchair. Honey, how was your day? Well, we were robbed, so I shot the man in a wheelchair.
Well, hey, you know
Nice.
what? You can be a crook whether you're in a wheelchair or a rascal scooter or whatever.
Anyway, you know, it is hard to make this stuff up.
It is.
I mean, this one, if you actually saw this on a TV show, you'd be like, no, come on.
Yeah, you would.
This is so
Absolutely.
dumb. Who would do this? Who was the guy who tried to, it was a few years ago, he was robbing one of the banks with another bank deposit from another bank, and she said, I'm sorry, we don't take those deposit slips. And he walked away.
I don't know.
You don't remember that one?
I do kind of remember something about it.
Yeah,
but
my gosh. Anyway.
Okay, so 7360300, top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly, Jill.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I like your thought of them all having guns. Back there where they was looting everything in St. Louis, breaking into stores and everything like that, store owners that had guns, they didn't have to shoot anyone. When you see the weapon, it's a deterrent.
I agree.
Yeah, they didn't have to shoot anyone because the cops are doing it for them. That is a tragic story.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey, I'm sorry. That is a tragic story.
I understand. It is.
That is a tragic, and that is not the first time in that area.
But that does not justify what is happening now.
Absolutely no, it doesn't. It doesn't. But I'm telling you, that city is in a tipping point. They have reached their tipping point, and it's not just this. Apparently, it's been a history of this. And man, that place is about to explode. I hope they calm down.
Yeah, Ferguson, Missouri is a place. So yeah, that's a real hellhole right now.
Oh man.
We talked yesterday about the death of comedian Robin Williams, actor Robin Williams. Gosh, he's so many things.
Well, he's both.
How would you classify him?
Actor, comedian.
Actor, comedian, yeah. But we contacted Debbie Thomas she is the CEO of the Walker Center in Gooding, and she's going to be on the show Friday at 9 o'clock. We're going to talk about depression and codependency, and unfortunately, it usually takes something of this magnitude to raise awareness of something like that. Mm-hmm. And so many people suffer from depression, and there are many others who think, it's just something that you can slap them in the face, throw some cold water in their face, and they'll snap out of it. Grab a hold of yourself.
But some people think it's a connection between addiction and depression and suicide. So anyway, we're going to get into that on Friday.
Yes, we are. And we'll have her for the entire hour, so it should be very interesting. So be sure to tune in at 9 o'clock for Debbie Thomas from the Walker Center on Friday. Now, speaking of that, number 2...
Well, one quick thing. We talked about, it was just discovered how Robin Williams killed himself. He was found in a seated position suspended slightly above the ground with a belt around his neck.
Yeah, I know. Doesn't that sounds weird? I know.
How big is that belt, and where was he suspended from? It's really like I'm just like that. That doesn't even make sense.
Well,
does it to you?
What doesn't make sense to me is how you can be suspended from the neck in a seated position when you're not. I mean, there's nothing supporting you. You would think that his body would have collapsed.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. And
I don't
I'm
know.
not
Anyway, they found him.
Yeah.
He hanged himself. Apparently.
So yes, and now number 2 is Lauren Bacall, who she didn't kill herself.
She was 89.
89 years old. Yeah,
nice life.
She's died. So usually they go in threes. So we have Robin Williams, Lauren Bacall, who will be number 3.
I know.
So
they think she died after suffering a stroke on Tuesday.
Yeah.
But another long life. 89 that's a nice.
She's kind of one of the last of the golden years of acting, I guess you might say. Hollywood, yeah.
Yeah.
So we have so many of the fakes now, but back then we had the real McCoy.
They actually, well, yeah.
Just a couple of other things to talk about too. I was reading another story this morning. I'm kind of hung on stories about technology, I guess, because I kind of see technology as a two-edged sword. It's going to be our salvation, and it's going to kill us. Google will soon have an unprecedented ability to spy on us from space.
How, you ask? How?
Well, 2 months ago, after a lot of lobbying by the biggest satellite company in North America, Digital Globe, the U.S. government relaxed restrictions to allow for commercially available satellite imagery of up to 25-centimeter resolution.
See, less regulations. There you go.
Twice as detailed as the previous limit of 50 centimeters. Now, the first commercial satellite sent to capture these high-res images, Digital Globe's WorldView 3, is launching today. 6 months after that, private business willing to fork over the money will be able to get their hands on hyper-detailed photos and videos of the globe. That, of course, includes Google. Google, along with Microsoft, NASA, and a lot of other U.S. federal agencies, such as National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, which played a pivotal role in the seizure of Osama bin Laden, is a regular Digital Globe customer. It signed a multi-layer imagery contract with the Colossus Satellite Company in February to use satellite imagery for apps like Google Earth, Maps, and Street View. The extra sharp images from WorldView 3 will greatly increase the map's level of detail to the point where it can make out 10-inch objects, which means Google will soon be able to see manholes and mailboxes from its hired eyes in the sky. They are working to get the imagery even at a higher resolution, and they say it's only a matter of time until those rules are relaxed. They will be able to zoom in on our faces from space.
They said that if you forget to turn off your coffee maker and you're nervous, you could check. They go into your house as well?
No, you could see your smoldering house, I think
is that
what
right?
They were talking
is that right?
about.
Well, you don't need Google for that.
So you'll be out in the middle of nowhere thinking that nobody is around, and there will be a satellite in the sky that can zoom right in on you and see who you are.
There you go. Less regulations,
How
people.
does that
there
make
you
feel? 736-0300, the number to call. 736-0300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Magic Valley Speedway coming in at 8:30. At 8:40, we have Kirk Tubbs with the Twin Falls County Pest Abatement District. With all this rain we had, we're expecting a surge of mosquitoes.
And now that we're on video, he can watch. He won't bring his little mosquitoes. Usually he does, and you couldn't see it. Now we can see it. We'll see what he brings.
Coming up at 9 o'clock, then we'll have Twin Falls City Council person Chris Talkington with the State of the City. Right now, I wanted to tell you about the new Certiset from Farm More of Idaho, a slick way of irrigating your alfalfa fields especially. There's an attachment on the swather that runs this pipe up and over the header. This is a flexible pipe that you can put out in your field that you can use to feed the water out to it, so that when you go out to swath your hay, you don't even have to move the pipe. It just stays there and it flexes around everything. So they can tell you all about it at Far More of Idaho, 324-3341, or at farmoreofidaho.com. Really a slick way, going to save you a lot of money, not having to have a pipe crew go out and move the pipe out, and then when it's all out of the field, then you got to have the pipe crew go back in, take the pipe back in, and time and money is of the essence there. So give them a call, 324-3341 at farmoreofidaho.com, and ask them about it. Back to our little technology thing. I don't know, does it bother you that no matter where this is going to be very, very soon? Well, actually, it's kind of like it right now. They can zoom in on you with satellites from space anyway right now.
Yeah.
But the resolution is getting better and better. You could hypothetically pull up a Google map and see real-time images of your actual plane rather than a blue dot soar further and further away from your from any place on Earth.
Well, didn't that happen to like a couple that she was Googling her house or Google Maps, and she literally saw her husband with some other woman on the front porch? Remember that one?
That wasn't real time, but yeah, you're right.
It didn't need to be real time for that one.
That's right. That was taken by the Google camera car, which I don't know how many they have, but one of them got in a wreck late last week, which I thought was kind of interesting. But yeah, you're right. A woman saw her husband in the front yard of their house kissing another woman. Mm-hmm. My goodness.
That was pretty good imaging.
Yeah, that would have been.
Can you imagine? I swear, you can't make this up. You can't. But this stuff, I mean, so much is bothering me about technology, and you can't put the genie back in the bottle. But
that's true.
You're just like, I'm disturbed that, Amazon knows what I looked at last or what I purchased, or every time, you start getting emails. I start getting coupons from Fred Meyer based on the stuff I've already bought. You're like, oh, they're tracking what I purchased. They're tracking this. They're tracking that.
Happens to me all the time.
And you say, oh, is that good marketing, or is it totally being invasive into your life?
Digital Globe currently has 5 satellites in the sky, and one, GeoEye-1, has the ability to capture images at 41 centimeters. The company lobbied hard to loosen restrictions to 25 centimeters so that it could compete with foreign firms that will be blasting their own satellites into orbit soon. According to Reuters, the ability to commercially sell high-res images is this small. It can possibly increase the Digital Globe's revenue by $400 million. Meanwhile, and coincidentally or not, Google acquired its own private satellite company, Skybox Imaging, shortly after the U.S. government relaxed its satellite imagery restrictions in June. And I don't know, it just goes on here to say that some of the things that it can do, it's just absolutely, literally out of this world to think that you could be standing out in your yard and there could be a satellite zoomed in on you, and they could see the pimples on your face, literally.
Well, the thing that just comes to mind right now is whoever's watching, and who's watching this, like who's doing it, So what if they see you committing a crime? What if they see you doing cocaine in your backyard, or, I don't know, killing someone or beating your wife or whatever, something that no one else has caught you on? Do they then have the obligation to turn you in? Do you know?
Yeah.
Now you're opening up a whole other can of worms. Or... okay, well, does that a warrant? Does that throw your case out? You didn't, you know what I'm saying? You're seeing a crime just because you're above their house or a Google map or whatever, yet no one has busted you for that crime. And there's a lot of things people are doing at home. They're doing cocaine, they're doing pot, they're doing whatever. Say you're in your backyard. No one has found that out. You're out in the country. But, Google Map or Google Earth or whoever this is now sees it. Do you turn it in? Are you now an accessory if you don't? Where's the legal obligation? Is that admissible in court? You know what I mean? It's opening just a can of worms that makes you think, what the heck?
Correct. You're right.
What the heck?
This is all...
but every day we read a new one.
You're right. And this is all being done to eventually, we are all going to be like specimens under a microscope. And those in charge are going to be able to keep an eye on us like never before.
But who's in charge? Is it Google? I mean, so what? So Google is now?
Oh, the governments will get a hold of this, and nothing flat. They probably already do have. The governments will certainly certainly have a huge interest in this. There's no question about it.
Why is this digital company wanting to do it to begin with? Why? For money.
Make money,
for
yeah.
money.
That's
for
right.
money. Everything's money, 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 and
the
our privacy goes
the
down.
governments will be buying those images for lots and lots of money.
So
I don't know if they're going to be
everyone
worried about you or me out of our backyard doing anything illegally, but eventually it will.
Well, I guess government get out of the way, and there you go.
It's a scary world, and with our government getting bigger and fatter and more powerful,
oh, geez,
we're only in for more trouble, folks. We got Magic Valley Speedway up next. 7360300 is the number to call here on Top Story. Coming up, we'll have the State of the City at 9, and then after that, we'll be talking about things that parents do with their children in other parts of the world that we would not think of doing here in the good old U.S. of A.
I'm sure they think the same
stuff
about us.
I'm sure they do. They were thinking, why don't they do that?
Exactly.
Anyway, we have Ashley Houle and Roy Boots here with us this morning from Magic Valley Speedway. Good morning, folks.
Good morning.
So we're coming up on another racing weekend.
Yeah, we're winding down. There's only 4 left.
Oh my
you're
goodness.
kidding.
So you better get out there while you can.
Yes.
It's hard to believe summer's almost over.
I know.
It's
gone fast.
It has.
When the races are over, you just, that's when the snow starts to fly.
Oh, stop.
Yeah, that's when the year's over.
Or the rain keeps pouring.
Yes. Now, through all that rain, you never had to shut down, did you? It just hit at the right times, didn't it?
It did. We thought we were going to be really close to having closing last weekend just because the ground was so wet out there, but it's dried up just enough to where we can race, and then it started raining again yesterday, and we're like, oh, please just be today.
So what's going on this weekend?
Roy, Roy's with us, and you're a racer. You're going to be racing this weekend?
I am, yes. I'll be in the Sherry Cafe Hornets this weekend.
Oh, okay. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, they are. They're a blast.
So are you... have you won championships in the past, or do you just kind of...
Not as a driver, no.
You're still working that.
I still am.
All right.
Roy,
So
when did you start racing?
Actually, last year was my first year full-time racing.
Really?
Yes.
Why did you decide to do it?
I just finally was able to fall into it to get a car and go out there and race.
What do you think?
It's just kind of in your blood, huh?
Yeah, see, I've been working on race cars for 17 years.
Ah,
you have?
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's it feel like to be the driver now?
Oh, so much better than being in the pits.
Is it?
Yes.
Well, I think it depends, because this last weekend in the Brennan's Carpet Superstocks, he took a big tumble. He got in a wreck with another driver, and he rolled his car 3 times.
No.
Oh, no.
Roy, what was that like?
A feeling that I'll be glad never to feel again.
Did you see your life flash before your eyes?
No, I didn't get to see that, but I got to see the wall upside down.
No. Were you hurt at all?
Nope, just some bruises, sore muscles, but other than that, I came out just fine.
Oh, well, very good. Well, you're looking fine, so, looks like you're no wear and tear.
Nope, all the roll cage, the safety equipment, everything did its job.
Yeah,
so when you're in that situation, what are you thinking? Seriously, as you're going over and over, you think you're going to get hit by another car? What are you thinking?
I honestly was thinking, is this going to stop? When is this going to stop?
Yeah.
That was all. Because it happened just so fast that you really don't have time to think of anything else except, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm glad you're okay.
So who will be racing this weekend?
Magic Valley Pipe is bringing the races this weekend, and it's going to be the Mountain Dew Late Models, O'Reilly Auto Parts Thunderdogs, Sherry's Cafe Hornets, Quality Electronic Junior Stingers, ISRL Super Sixes are going to be in town this weekend, and then the Hilux Poly Big Wheels.
Okay, so it's going to be another busy night. This is Saturday night, right? All the races are Saturday night?
Every Saturday night.
All right.
So you got anything special? Last week you had the hot dog eating contest. How was that? Was that last week?
Yes.
Yeah, that was last week.
How many hot dogs were eaten? Roy, were you in that one?
No, I decided I didn't want to try to get sick before I went out there, which was a good thing, especially
when you turned.
Yeah.
That could have been quite ugly.
I'm sure it would have, yeah.
So do you have anything at halftime or anything special this weekend?
Intermission will be the Hilux Poly Big Wheels, which is kids 12 and under get to do the 3 trike big wheels, and they're going to race on the track, actually.
Oh, wow,
fun.
that'd be cool.
That would be fun. Yeah. Do a lot of kids come out for that?
Yeah, we have a lot. We started it this year, and we're like, we'll see how it goes. If we have to, we'll throw some of the kids from the pits into it. But it's taken off right away, and I think it's
throw some of the kids into the pits.
Kids, sit on this. Here, just move. Go.
But I think it's the fact that they actually get to go and race on the track that gets them really excited to come and do it.
They'll probably be future racers now. I mean,
Oh,
really,
I'm
that might change their
That's the
life, that
ticket.
experience.
This kind of a deal is self-perpetuating, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they keep just raising up the kids into the racing, and so they'll always have racers.
So that's at intermission. What time is that?
About 7:30.
Okay. And when do gates open?
Gates open at 4. McDonald's time trials at 6:30, and racing begins at 7.
And how much?
Adults are $10. Seniors are $8. 12 and under is free with an adult, and military is always free with ID.
Well, that sounds great. So, Roy, what's your strategy for this weekend? Stay upright?
Yeah, stay upright, keep them all 4 wheels, and go out there and have fun.
Drive fast and turn left, huh?
Oh, no, because in the Hornets, we don't always turn left. We have road courses that we can run, or we go backwards
okay.
turning right. So.
Oh, really? You can go backwards?
Well, not like backwards, like driving in reverse backwards, but we'll be doing right-hand turns instead of left-hand turns.
Oh, wow.
I see.
So how many laps on that?
It just all depends. Last week, our second main was all right-hand turn.
All right-hand turn.
All right-hand turn.
Well, Roy, we wish you the best.
Yeah,
Try to stay
sounds
upright,
like
buddy.
fun. Everybody make it to Magic Valley Speedway this weekend, Saturday night, for another big race, and pack the place.
Pack the place.
Yeah.
So
That's
4
right.
o'clock, the gates open, 6:30 time trials, and the intermission 7:30, right?
Yep.
For the kids, Big Wells.
All
That
right.
sounds like fun.
It does sound like
I
fun.
know.
Thanks, Ashley Hool and Roy Boots. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, guys.
Best of luck. Thank you.
Going to find out how to control those pesky skeeters coming up next here on Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Wanted to let you know that the folks at Canyon Pond want you to come in and see them today. If you can't make it today, then be sure and make it tomorrow. If you can't make it tomorrow, be sure to make it one day this week, okay? There's a brand new pawn shop in town, and Dave Hansen and his crew are there. I mean, everything in there, it's just a nice new store. It's all been redone inside. It's really a nice place.
Mm-hmm.
It's right there across from Will's Toyota on South Shoshone Street. All right? And
That's
they've
You
got
the right street.
literally everything. I mean, they've got woodworking equipment, they've got fishing poles, they've got camping stuff. They now have guns. So, in fact, he posted a picture of a Ruger new model Blackhawk 357 Magnum yesterday on there. I thought, oh man, if I didn't already have one of those, I'd be down there looking at that one. So if you're in the market for one of those or any kind of a gun, go on down and see Dave Hansen and the crew at Canyon Pawn. They're now open, brand new pawn shop in town. And if you go there today, don't see what you're looking for, try again tomorrow because the stock keeps on moving. And tell them that we sent you, 933-2600 or canyonpawn.com. We have with us this morning Kirk Tubbs from the Twin Falls County Pest Abatement District. Good morning, Kirk.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. Now, we had that huge rain here a couple of weeks ago, and I was thinking, I'll bet Kirk Tubbs is going nuts because of all this water that's going to be standing afterwards, because that causes mosquito population.
Yep. You know, when you create a lot of habitat, you have the potential for a lot more mosquitoes, and that rain created a lot of standing water. You know,
What were you thinking when it was happening? Like, oh, I have job security. What were you actually thinking?
Well, our season thus far has gone pretty good. Our overall numbers have been very low, especially when we look at KLIX numbers, which we really focus on because of the West Nile Virus transmission. And so, yeah, you see all that rain and all that extra habitat. And the real hard part with this is there's going to be a lot of habitat in people's backyards. Buckets and containers. And I mean, I looked around my own backyard. The little, wagon was full of water, and all my kids' toys were full of water. And so.
Oh, my goodness. Did the kids say, Daddy, mosquitoes?
Oh, they know about it. So
I know. They must be trained.
So when will this population that we're looking at here start to be flying around?
So, it takes about 5 to 7 days for mosquitoes to hatch off. And so, about a week after this rain event's when we'll start seeing an increase in mosquitoes, if we do. But right now is the time to take action. I brought in a picture to show to Kelly of a nice, I think it's a wheelbarrow type thing.
Nice container. Nice looking container.
Yeah.
And in that, when you look in there right now, are just thousands of mosquito larvae.
Because the rainwater got in there and looked like it had quite a bit of water in it.
Yeah.
So if you dump it, what happens? Does it kill it, or does the water in the grass, do they die, or what happens?
They're dead.
They're dead.
Mosquito larvae have to have that calm water to live in. And so that bucket that's in your backyard that now is full of water, a female mosquito flies over there and she lays a couple hundred eggs in there. And so in about a week, they start hatching.
So this is the time. It's been about a week, hasn't it, since it started?
We could see any time now, I suppose.
Yeah, it's been cool, so it slows the growth rate down, and so we're not seeing a lot real fast growth yet. But this is a time to get it dumped out. Big areas throughout the county we're trying to treat. We treat over 4,000 individual sites throughout the county for mosquitoes.
I don't see how you even do that.
Gosh.
You were showing me a map that was marked there that showed all the places that you were treating, and I thought, how in the world do you even get around to that? Do you have help?
I do. I have 3 seasonal employees.
That's it.
So there's 4 of you.
Yep.
For 4,000 areas.
So if you get, so that's 1,000 apiece.
Yeah.
How many can you do in a day?
It all depends on the area that we're doing, but I've got really good help this summer. These guys they're young college kids, and a lot of them are going into biology or ag-related fields, and so it gives them some good field experience. And that's just part of it, is getting out there and finding these sites and getting it treated.
Do people call you or to say we have a big site, or do you just know where they are?
People call us. I get lots of calls after stuff like this to say, hey, here's a spot you might want to look at. And then once we've been there, we track it in a GIS system. So we have a computer map-based system. We use those satellite photos to look at stuff.
Oh,
so you can see a mosquito from miles away.
You can tell whether it's a male or a female, right?
No, it's not that good.
They're having lunch right now. Let's get them.
But we track all these from year to year, so we can go back. Once it's in our books, we go back there every year and check it out.
Okay.
Just so we don't miss things.
Are there places sometimes that you go back the next year and it's not a problem that year?
Yeah. Maybe there's a low spot in the field that always floods, and yet and they can go in there and maybe they make better drainage ditches, and now it's no longer a problem.
Yeah.
Some of the real problems we've seen this summer is over irrigation. People will. It takes about a week for those mosquitoes to hatch out, and if you leave your water on the same set for longer than a week, you're going to start hatching out mosquitoes right in that field that you're watering.
Oh, wow.
And so, just moving that water a few days earlier allows it to dry out and kill those mosquito larvae.
Have you found that going from gravity irrigation to sprinkler irrigation, is that helping?
In some ways, yes. But if you have a low spot in a field that's being watered by a pivot, and you've got a field of corn in there,
it's still going to fill up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you bring for us? I know it's show and tell. What is that? Are those mosquito larvae?
Yeah, I brought in some mosquito larvae. If you want, I can open it up and let out the adults.
Not really.
So
Not really.
So this is just to show you what the mosquito larvae look like. Now you guys are on camera now.
That's right.
Yeah,
and
you can kind of hold it up.
You can hold it up.
They won't be able to see. They'll be able to see the trap, but they won't be.
And where did you find these little?
So this is just one. This came over by the canal. This is just one little scoop of water out of a puddle.
Really?
And it doesn't take much water to produce mosquitoes.
I guess not. Oh my gosh. We've also had a case of West Nile virus. Is it just one now in Haley, or has there been others?
That's the only one I know about in humans. Nothing has come in the Magic Valley, the Twin Falls County, has come through the health department yet. We did have a trap last week that tested positive for West Nile virus.
Right. That was between Twin and Kimberly, right?
Is it possible to get false positives on those?
So we in-house lab test, and so there's a gray area that sometimes we could get a false positive, and if it falls in that range, we send it off to the state lab for confirmation. This was outside of that range. It was definitely a positive.
Really?
So where did you find it? Just like in a canal or something?
No, so we set traps every week throughout the county. So we've been trapping and looking for virus all summer long, and so we set these traps, and we rotate spots throughout the county. And I hesitate to say it was specifically right there, because once you find it in an area, mosquitoes fly. It's probably in other areas too, and so just take that as a warning to be cautious.
How far did you say these mosquitoes fly?
Depends on the species, but most of the ones we deal with fly less than a mile.
Oh.
So they're pretty local.
Yeah. So when you get bit, you want to start looking close to home. There's a couple exceptions. One is some species of mosquitoes that pose no health threat will hatch off in great numbers when there's flooding. So like the river floods and it floods that floodplain. You'll have thousands of mosquitoes that'll hatch off in that area, and they'll travel quite a ways to bite. But these guys just bite, lay eggs, and die. And they'll lay those eggs back into the soil, and they'll sit there until there's another flood event. No danger of West Nile virus. The ones that we worry about are species that bite, lay eggs, and bite again. And these species actually prefer containers. Small ponds, little troughs. And so that's why it's so critical right now to dump out those containers that are around your place.
Probably even something just as small as a coffee cup that you left out on the deck that got filled up with water.
Yeah, it potentially can. It doesn't take very much water. In our area, a lot of times it's hot enough that we'll dry those kind of containers up.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take much if it's sitting in the shade behind a shed. Now it's filled up full of water, and it'll sit there for a week or more. And
or like a
mosquitoes.
flower pot you haven't filled yet. You might have it next to your house, and you don't really think about it.
Now, West Nile, can that travel with birds and things also?
And so typically that's how we see a lot of movement, is birds move and mosquitoes feed on those birds.
So if you see a dead bird out by your house, that's probably what happened.
It could be.
Yeah.
We don't do a lot of testing of birds anymore. They've kind of stopped because at this point we know it's out there.
Yeah.
The mosquito testing lets us know specifically if we have maybe a hot spot in an area we want to spend more time working in that area.
Have any animals been infected yet?
Nothing's been reported to me.
Nothing. Okay.
But very well could have been.
Right.
So does it affect animals like it does humans? I mean, do they get sick?
They die, don't they? Yeah, they've died.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, horses, it can be deadly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Just specifically horses? What about cows?
Cows, I don't know that it impacts them the same way. But, chickens and birds, a lot of times will get it and get sick, and some will die, and they'll just act funny too.
So how would a human know if he's possibly has West Nile?
You'll have flu-like symptoms.
Now, you had it, right?
I did.
But you didn't find it for a while. Wasn't it a couple years or something?
No, when I had it, I was one of the earlier cases in the Magic Valley, and so I was sick. I mean, I had the flu, and
Did you know it was that right away?
No, I just thought I couldn't quite get over this cold or flu, and I just kept going downhill, and finally I just went into the doctor and said, you have to check me. I never go to the doctor, but you're going to have to do something.
But I work with
typical man, right?
I work with mosquitoes. I might have been bit. So did they find it? Is it a blood test? How do they determine you have it?
So yeah, they just run a test, but again, it's a virus, so they can treat the symptoms, but there's not a lot that they can do for it.
And you said it took you a while to get over it, right?
It did.
Yeah.
Most people that get West Nile virus, though, experience really mild symptoms within a day or two, or they're past it. But a small percentage of the population will get hit pretty hard.
I'll be darned. That's interesting. So if you feel like you've got the flu,
it's not going
and you've
away.
got a recent mosquito bite, and nobody around you has the flu, you might want to go to the doctor to see.
Yeah, you can always get checked out.
Yeah.
So
do you think that's a good thing to do? Because if it can lead into something worse, well.
In my case, I had pneumonia at the same time, and so it was the complication of things that was getting me. And so yeah, if you're sick.
Wait, you had pneumonia and then you got West Nile?
Well, I think the pneumonia came after.
Oh, it came as part of it?
Because part of the...
Because I was already weak and sick, probably that's why.
Ah, I see. Okay.
So.
Wow, that's...
But
it can be deadly.
Yeah.
Right?
So the real focus for us is on prevention. If we could just eliminate that habitat, we'll eliminate those mosquitoes. And the good news is we're in August. We're on the downhill side of mosquito populations. The nights get cooler, the days get shorter.
Is that what
It slows down their growth cycle, and so we'll tend to see less and less problems every week.
So what everybody should do right now is check around their house and make sure there aren't containers that have water in them. And if they do, just tip them over and dump it out, and that'll kill the larvae.
Yeah, and if you got a livestock watering trough that you can't flush or dump out, throw a goldfish in there. They'll eat the mosquito larvae. That works great.
Oh, yeah.
If you've got a bigger area that you want us to look at or treat, give me a call. 733-2338.
Give it again one more time.
It's 733-2338. That's our office number.
Okay.
You have some special organic stuff that you can treat it with, don't you?
Yeah, we have several products that we use, but the main one is a bacteria. It's a natural occurring soil bacteria. We put it in the water. The mosquito larvae feed on it, and we kill them before they ever fly away.
Okay.
But it makes their stomachs
So it's not
explode.
a poison. It's not toxic or anything.
It doesn't hurt us, but yeah, for a mosquito, it's toxic.
It's really toxic.
What's it do to it? Make its stomach explode?
The one is called BTI, Bacillus thuringiensis israelis. So it's a natural soil bacteria.
Write that down, Jill.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But it has when this bacteria, it forms a little spore crystal, and this little protein crystal is what the mosquito larvae see as food, and they ingest it, and it binds to their gut and causes lesions, and they die.
Wow.
Another one that we use is Bacillus spiricus, which is a live bacteria. And we like it because it just persists in the water for a while. And the mosquito larvae feed on it, and it grows in their gut, and they kind of explode and release more bacteria for more mosquitoes.
Wow. I bet that's interesting to look
You
at
almost
under a magnifying
enjoy that
glass.
a little bit too much, don't you, Kirk? Did you see how his eyes lit up?
I did.
This is fun. Fun.
He was rubbing his hands.
I know. So what's the most important thing they should do? Dump their water?
Dump their water out.
If they get bitten by a mosquito, what should people do? Panic or go to the doctor
No,
or not?
I wouldn't panic. I mean, to put it in perspective, we have about 50 different species of mosquitoes here in Idaho. We commonly deal with about 20 different varieties here in the Magic Valley, of which 2 can potentially carry West Nile virus.
Okay.
So
the odds are fairly slim, but they are possible.
But yeah, it is a possibility. So yeah, eliminate that habitat, and then wear DEET, long sleeve shirts, long sleeves. Avoid activity at dusk and dawn when mosquitoes are most active, if you can.
Yeah.
And you'll avoid potential problems right there.
All right. Well, that's always interesting to talk to you, Kirk Tubbs from the Twin Falls County Pest Abatement District. They can always call you for more information.
Yep, or just do a search online. Our website will pop up, and you can contact us through that as well.
Or 733-2338, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, take you and your little skeeters out of here. Those things always creep me out. Those are gross.
I'm glad you brought them. Let's set them on
That's
her
why you
desk
always,
for a while.
That's why you always bring them, huh,
We got the
Kirk?
state of the city coming up next hour here on Top Story. All right, welcome back to Top Story, 736-0300, always the number to call. Just at the last minute, I remembered to flip the switches.
Thank goodness.
Almost forgot
You should
again.
have just like a little tab on there.
I know.
After 40 years, you might have remembered
I need
this.
a red flashing light on there that
Something.
says, remember to throw the switches.
What happened?
Either that or I just need to make it automatic. Maybe that'd
That
work.
would be nice.
Yeah. So welcome
Because we
back.
definitely have a fail in the system.
Coming up, we're going to be talking about some of the things that parents do with their kids around the world that we here in America would not dream of doing.
Yeah.
Very interesting stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Right now, we have Twin Falls City Councilman Chris Talkington with State of the City. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Chris.
Good morning. And red lights and mosquitoes, it all segues really well, guys,
Doesn't
into the great downfall deluge of 2014. Yeah.
Well, I know that so many people who've been here I've been here all my life, and I have seen 2 weeks of rainfall, but I have never seen it do this.
Well, your previous guest really did a wonderful public service to remind people after our 200-year-plus rainfall last week, there's still quite a bit of standing water, either in the planned basins for water settling or in, like, my granddaughter's swimming pool out in our backyard.
Oh, yeah.
Get rid of that standing water.
That's right.
But we had, over 72 hours, an official recording, I think it was 3.71 inches.
Yeah.
Which just is something more than it's virtually 40% of our entire year.
That's right.
And the farmers are still recovering.
Oh, yeah.
Right, it's really affected
A
them
lot of
badly.
the barley, I guess, is sprouted in the heads.
Yeah,
it's really a mess.
I really feel for them.
Yeah. So are we in a cleanup mode now still, or I think most of us have kind of moved on?
We completed the assessment, and we came through in pretty good shape. Probably the biggest success was our wastewater plant, which collects a lot of the runoff water. It's designed for 10 million gallons a day. We peaked at 20-plus million. We notified the state DEQ right away, and they indicated this is kind of an act of God, if I'm phrasing correctly, and they weren't concerned. Our ultraviolet decontamination that handles the water before it goes in the Snake River took care of about 80% of that 20 million gallons, which is really surprising. So we got by with pretty good shape, actually, for something you could never plan or build for.
Yeah.
The trail system is another thing. That's why we don't encourage building too close to the rim. You see some of our trail system that's now sloughed off.
And I saw the one at Canyon Crest, and honestly, it was a little disturbing that the concrete actually didn't look that deep for the posts. The fence really pulled away, but it's really sand. I mean, it's not like rock. It was sand. So I'm wondering, wow, could this keep going? Is it
possible.
Sand? Yeah.
But that's what gravity and inclines do. I mean, they slough off through time, and we now have to pay the bill for another 200-year flood situation, I guess.
Yeah.
So are they going to replace the same walking trails or boost them up in a different way? Or has the city come up with that yet?
Yeah.
Is that up to the city, or who foots that bill?
Well, I think it'll be the city that will be paying for that. The property owners, when they developed the property, Kelly, participated by allowing it or as a condition for their development. I think that'll be borne by the city.
Okay. What about Canyon Springs Road? I know there was kind of some issues with that. Is that kind of back to normal now, or?
Pretty much back to normal. They're still looking at it, but there's no apparent big settlement area. I'll tell you a curious side note. I had my 50th class reunion this last weekend. Had a lot of activities planned for down there, and of course the road was initially closed. So talking with our city manager, he says, well, travel at your own risk. Be very careful and hug the inside of the road. And there could have been as many as 150 people down there, and I didn't hear of any problems.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's good.
So it's kind of onward. And one thing that I know in the past, whenever you went to build a house, there was always a big deal of a floodplain. And it was my understanding banks would not even loan you money if you were building in a floodplain. You had to certify that it was not in a floodplain. Is that still active?
We have floodplains. Obviously, the drainage canals, the Perrine system has a fairly extensive floodplain. There are some homes built in that, and I can't tell you what, at the time they were built, I don't know what the lending practices were.
Yeah.
Do you
It's
think
pretty difficult now, though.
Do you think those homeowners have flood insurance? I mean, do you think living in a desert you would even think about flood insurance?
We have heard from a couple handfuls of people who have had fairly extensive flood damage. Whether they have rental coverage insurance, whether there were backflow protectors put in, don't know. That's kind of an individual situation. We're really sympathetic as a city to any sort of a damage, but how could you ever plan a 200-year flood?
Yeah. Is there any liability on the part of the city for any of that people might try to claim? Or?
I think you could always make a claim, but I've heard a couple of analogies. There could be a liability, I guess, if somebody's home were broken into, burglarized because there wasn't appropriate lighting. There's a very unclear gray area where public liability kicks in.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned, too, that we're kind of starting to get the ball rolling on the downtown development.
Oh, finally. This thing has taken years too long, but urban renewal, which I'm just a standing member of it on the council's part, we have a signed contract now with a planner developer who's working with a local engineering company. They are immediately initiating a 10-month plan. Hopefully we can compress it to have working drawings ready for the engineers to bid upon this time next year. I think we will be several months into the major reconstruction of that downtown area. Taken far too long, but we've gone into it with the idea we have one chance and it's got to be done right.
So when you say a 10-month plan, this is how long it's going to take for him to create his plans with public input, or what do you mean by that? And
there's going to be extensive public input, Jill. We have to work and want to work with the business owners to minimize disruption for their business, encourage them to use their back doors while the main street's torn up. We have to do location of the as-built for the wastewater and the water lines. We have to study reconfiguration of what the main street will look like in Shoshone. We even have issues of the older buildings have basements that encroach upon the sidewalks. There used to be an elevator system on Main Street and some on Shoshone Street where merchants would bring their merchandise in and crank the elevator shaft up and load it and take it down. Well, those subterranean basements and their encroachment on, or I can't even call it encroachment, their location right atop several feet of city sidewalk is one of the big issues we're facing.
So are the businesses going to bear any of the cost of this, or is it just the city or URA, or how's this going to work? I mean,
substantially all of it by urban renewal. There probably will be some private costs, and that's one of those things we have to discover, so there are no surprises. Everything is known up front. I certainly will minimize, in my mind, the need for any or as little private investment as possible. But if we want to build upstairs apartments, for instance, we have to upsize the water lines so that we have enough pressure to run a sprinkler system. So eventually there's going to be some trade-off of a majority of publicly assumed cost and a little bit of private.
But right now we don't know when the actual first shovel will be turned.
Hopefully by July 1st. Okay?
Oh, okay.
That's my optimistic schedule, but I'm always the optimist.
So when are they going to start? I guess if people are interested, because a lot of people are interested in the downtown, what is the next step? Are they going to draw up plans and then have public things, or what does it work?
This is the public input stage initially for probably overlapping with some of the other discovery of where the actual current lines lay. There will be a lot of public information provided about the opportunity to give input, public meetings, and we encourage everybody to be a participant. Everybody has a vested interest in tomorrow's Twin Falls.
When do you think those start?
August is what they're talking about. So I would say within
we got like 2 weeks left of August, yeah?
That's right. That's right. They better get moving quickly and earn that money.
So when can is there a timetable when we can expect all this to be done and things getting back to normal again?
Getting back to normal, it'll never be normal, Kelly. It's going to be the new Twin Falls, with the new fountain system and 4 to 5 blocks of completely new appearance and a capability to handle business. I don't know if it's ever going to be new again or the same old. I hope it's going to be much better.
Are they going to keep the flavor of what Twin is, or is that all up for grabs?
You can bank on it. The city of Twin Falls is committed to preserving the heritage of the community and building on what is best in the downtown area.
So who did you hire as a consultant, and how much is this?
Well, they're out of Portland, and their OTAC is the company's name, and their 10-month fee is, I think, $275,000 maximum. Hopefully we can condense some of those costs. We looked about trimming back one part of the package for economic development that really is already another plan that we have on the shelf. And several of us don't feel that we should be paying for something we've already pretty much had a plan scoped down on.
Yeah.
The Leland Group's work is specifically work that we might be able to rely on.
That you used before.
Well, some of us old codgers like you and me, we still remember the last time that they rebuilt that back in the late 60s.
I remember it for not being here, Kelly. I was in the Air Force at the time.
Right.
And I think it was about 65 or so. Does that sound about the time?
Yeah, that's right. It does.
65 or 66.
So that was just like yesterday, right?
It's just like yesterday.
Just like yesterday.
We were very young, though.
Yeah, but I can still remember when they had that whole area blocked off, and it was really something. I guess the late 60s or maybe 1970, I remember from tearing down the Perrine Hotel.
Oh, boy.
I guess that's what that
I know,
but
I don't know. Yeah, anyway, that's a whole nother whatever. Anyway.
That's right. So now we have a new height restriction in town for building?
It'll allow a higher structure, 50 feet, which some buildings like the Shiloh on North Blue Lakes have already been given that permission. There will be more of a setback, though, so that you don't have shadows following on adjacent buildings to protect their sunlight portion. I think it's really just an implementation of what we've been doing by going through the hearing process and allowing an appeal.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people think that the 35 feet that we had was due to aesthetics, but that was because of the fire trucks and the ladders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you consult with the fire department before you guys did the 50 foot building?
We always are subject to following fire codes. You bet.
Okay.
So, then they've got...
We're buying another ladder truck, by the way, that could reach, I think, almost 100 feet into the air.
Oh, wow. So we
and
can
we're ringing it.
Well, that's a grant, though, right? Has it been approved yet?
Well, we're applying for a grant, but we've used our impact fee, which is people building, kick in for streets and roads and police and fire, and we're able to use, I think, something like a 7-to-1 advantage of the money we've collected if this grant comes in for the fire truck.
Very good. Well, Chris, we're out
of
time.
Well,
Appreciate
thanks,
you coming
Chris.
in.
You bet. And keep that mosquito water down.
Yes,
I know
indeed.
it.
Chris Talkington from the Twin Falls City Council on State of the City. And this is Top Story. 7360300, the number to call here on Top Story. Welcome back. Yesterday's $100 instant winning name is John Hurley.
John Hurley, congratulations.
And your $100 word of the day for today is clock.
Clock.
Yes, like CLOCK, clock.
Except in Boston, that's Clark.
Is that they? That's right. They do call it Clark. You got a story for that, too.
I have a story, but it's good thing you spell it. It's clock.
Yes.
Which they say is Clark.
You know, khakis in Boston are different than what we know as khakis. We wear khakis. Back there, they use khakis to start their car.
That's true. You need a whole dictionary for that place. It's a whole other world.
Go to our website at newsradio1310.com and click on Word of the Day, type it in, and listen tomorrow. And
That's
if
right.
tomorrow you hear your name and you played the Word of the Day today, then you win $100 just like that.
I know.
Scouring the internet again this morning, I found another interesting story. How raising children in other parts of the world can be altogether different in how we do it here in America, and how we here in America probably wouldn't even think of doing some of the things that they do in other parts of the world, and it's just common practice. Argentine parents, for instance, let their kids stay up until all hours.
Okay.
Japanese parents let their 7-year-olds ride the subway by themselves. Danish parents leave their kids sleeping in a stroller on the curb while they go inside to shop or eat.
I've heard that.
I can't even imagine doing that
Well,
here.
think about, well, it kind of says something about our country.
Oh, well, yeah,
you're
a lot.
Right. But yeah, and there was a couple that was arrested in New York for doing that. They left their kid out on the side as they went in to eat because that's what they do in their country. And just think about it, because they want their kids to get fresh air, and they're not, in there crying or screaming.
Bothering them while they're eating.
Yes.
But we have 9 samples of things that parents do around the world. For instance, in Norway, kids nap outside, even in sub-zero temperatures.
Yeah.
Now, first of all,
be healthy for you.
We have this thing here in America, put your coat on before you go outside or you'll catch your death of cold.
Yeah.
You're not going to catch a cold from being cold. It is a virus that moves around. So let's just get rid of that myth right now. But in Norway, kids nap outside. When kids turn 1 year old, he or she starts going into what they call barnehage, which is Norwegian for children's garden, which is basically a state-subsidized daycare. Parents pay a few $100 a month, and their kids are taken care of from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m.
It's nice if you're working.
Toddlers spend a ton of time outside at barnehage, even in extremely cold temperatures. It is not uncommon to see kids bundled up outside during a Scandinavian winter, taking a nap in their strollers.
Well, fresh air.
Yeah, absolutely. If you were to do that here, you would be arrested.
Child abuse.
Yeah, you would be.
Yeah, well, as long as their kids are bundled up, but a lot of times you see kids out, they're little babies, and it's freezing, you put a sweater on the kids.
A lot of times you see kids outside playing in their no shoes on their feet, no coat. It's cold outside. Those are the kids that never get sick. Then mommy bundles up her little snowflake, and every time they go outside, they get a stuffy nose. So I don't know. Anyway,
well, I don't think it's because of that.
I don't think it is either, but it does seem like it. To toughen up your kids a little bit, it does build up the immune system.
Well, also, and your body adjusts to the seasons. I mean, when you're in air conditioning all the time, you can hardly adjust to the heat. You have a harder time with heat. So it's almost better to have your windows open to adjust to the heat. And I remember my grandmother would drink hot tea back in the day before air conditioning. Hot tea, because then you would sweat and cool off.
That's right.
And so...
And when you sweat, that releases a lot of the toxins in your body.
Oh, yeah, it's always good to sweat.
Everything we do, every place we go in the summertime is air conditioned.
Oh, it's terrible. I always bring a jacket or a sweater with me. Tom makes fun of me, but I say the air conditioning is freezing. And living in Dallas, it was really cold. It'd be hot as Hades outside, and then you'd go inside and you'd be freezing.
I think a big reason that a lot of the times the days seem hotter than they used to is because we do have all the air conditioning.
Yeah, you go in and the difference. Yeah,
back in the day, we never.
Back in the day.
It was just part of the summer. It was just warm.
But your body doesn't adjust as well to the temperatures when you're in an artificially heated or cool environment.
I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
We're coming up on another break, but here's another one to think about. Vietnamese moms train their babies to pee on command.
Coming up next.
That's right. That's the big cliffhanger coming up. How did they do that?
Right. If I could only teach my cat or dog to do it.
That's right. Yeah, we can't even do that with our cats or dogs. In Vietnam, they do it with their kids. 736-0300 is the number to call. 736-0300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. We're going to get back into things that parents do around the world that we would not think of doing here in America. I was just watching some of the images on the monitor up here about all the flooding in Detroit and how what the flooding we had here in Twin Falls does not begin to compare with a lot of that. They had 6 inches of rain.
Can you imagine if we had 6 inches?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, we barely had 4, and we were floating away. So
and
2 more inches of that would have been devastation.
Could you imagine? And look at it. It is devastation.
Yeah, water everywhere. Man, cars are driving through it. It's amazing. At any rate, though, maybe on some of the feedlots and dairies around here, you might have that situation when it rains, turning all of that manure into liquid manure. It doesn't matter if it's liquid or frozen or dry. The low-end honey loader can handle it. And if you have like a large dairy or feedlot operation, lots of livestock, and you need to do something about the manure problem that you have, get a hold of Stanley and Company. Pat Hartzell can fix you up with a low-end honey loader. And if you want to see one of these in operation before you plunk down your hard-earned money, then he can arrange that too. He can take you to where one of these is already in operation and is running. And his number is 280-1167. Just call him directly. You can call Stanley and Company at 324-3341, but if you call him directly on his cell phone, you just kind of eliminate a lot of the go-to stuff, you know. So he says, hey, give us a call. Pat Hartzell with Stanley and Company. Well, moving along here, some really interesting stuff. So we left you with a cliffhanger.
So if you're having trouble potty training your child,
yes,
you need to listen, because people do. I just saw a thing in New York. They hire an expert to potty train your child. In 2 days, she will come and potty train your child. She's the expert. I forget how much it cost. Was it like, it was a crazy amount. But yeah, and she's guaranteed. She's a success story. But apparently people have trouble potty training their child, except in Vietnam.
Yeah, they've got the way to do it. In Vietnam, parents, kind of like Pavlov with his salivating dogs, this is moms with peeing babies. The Chinese do it too, apparently. Parents start by noticing when their baby starts to pee and make a whistle sound.
Mm-hmm.
Soon enough, the baby starts to associate the whistle with peeing, and voila.
Voila!
That's how it works.
Yeah.
If you think that sounds a little odd or a little like someone is conflating a kid with a pet schnauzer, researchers say Vietnamese babies are usually out of diapers by 9 months.
What do you think now, people?
Yeah, must be working, huh?
I think
so. Whenever your kid takes a leak, you just whistle or something like that, and then pretty soon you can whistle and.
And what do you do? Take him to the toilet, or what happens? Or you just wait?
Well, yeah, you take him into the toilet, set him on the pot, and then you whistle, and then there it goes.
There you go.
Got it figured out here.
Hey, we've just helped a lot of mothers around the valley.
We just saved you a lot of money.
And a lot of diapers.
That's right.
Because I think American babies, a lot of it 1-2 years, right? They're in diapers.
Oh, yeah. Some of them, yeah.
Up to 3 even? Crazy?
I think so.
All right.
Traditional Kizi people in Kenya avoid looking their babies in the eye. Kizi or Gusi, moms in Kenya carry their babies everywhere, but they don't indulge a baby's cooing. Rather, when their babies start babbling. It's likely to sound harsh to a Western sensibility, but within the context of Kisi culture, it makes more sense. Eye contact is an act bestowed with a lot of power. It's like saying, you're in charge, which isn't the message parents want to send their kids. Researchers say Kisi kids are less attention-seeking as a result.
That's nice.
It is interesting.
It is.
Danish parents leave their kids on the curb while they go shopping. In Denmark, Writes Meiling Hopgood in How Eskimos Keep Their Babies Warm. Children are frequently left outside to get frisk luft or fresh air, something parents think is essential for health and hearty development, while caregivers dine and shop.
Yeah.
As you might imagine, this idea sends shivers down the spines of many parents in the United States. In New York, as you were saying a while ago, a couple, one of whom was Danish, was arrested for leaving their child outside a barbecue restaurant while they went inside.
Yeah, to eat. I mean, they're thinking, what's the problem? But it's more of a statement of our country and than really their tradition. Like, you can't leave anything out without it being harmed.
In the Polynesian islands, children take care of children. We're not talking any old big brother babysitting little sister. We're talking organized kid collective. Adults take the lead in caring for babies in Polynesia, but as soon as a child can walk, he or she is turned over to the care of other children.
There you go.
So, teaching them responsibility
at
a young age.
I know my brother and sister-in-law, they have 6 kids, and they all took care of each other, you know, and they were almost more attached to the older kids than they were to them.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Now, in Japan, they let their kids ride the subway unattended.
We'll talk about that next.
That's the next cliffhanger right here on Top Story. 7360300, the number to call. Okay. Continuing along here, we got just a few more. Japanese parents. Parents in Japan allow their kids a lot of independence after a certain age. It isn't uncommon for 7-year-olds and even 4-year-olds to ride the subway by themselves.
You just hop on.
Yeah.
Get off.
Can you imagine us doing that here? Christine Gross-Low, author of Parenting Without Borders, lives in Japan for part of each year, and when she's there, she lets her kids run errands without her, taking the subway and wandering around town as they may.
Mm-hmm.
But she wouldn't dare do the same back in the U.S. If I let them out on their own like that in the U.S., I wouldn't just get strange looks, she told somebody. They said somebody would call Child Protective Services.
Well, it's true. Remember that woman in New York? I think her son was 8 or 10 or whatever, and she got such flack for letting him run an errand or go on the subway or something by himself, and it was just brutal. And you have to wonder. But again, it says more about our society than the practice.
Yeah, we got a caller here. I guess not. They decided they couldn't wait. Spanish kids stay up late.
Now, I can speak to this one.
Oh, wait a minute. Now we got a caller here. Let's see.
Yeah.
No, I guess not. No, here, this one's ringing now.
Hello?
Top Story, you're on the air. Good morning.
This is Gail Fixon. I live over near Costco, and you keep saying that if we'd had a lot of rain, I didn't even put my rain gauge out till the second morning when it stopped raining for a while. I had 4 3/4 inches from there to the end.
Oh, wow. So you got more than the...
I think it rained at least 2.5 inches that first night. It was pouring, and I had water to the top of my window wells.
Oh my
my.
Do you have a basement? Is that what you were...
Yes, but I didn't get any water.
Oh, that's a
you
good
didn't?
thing.
Was lucky.
Yeah,
You
no
were
kidding.
lucky.
So you're thinking we might have gotten 6 inches.
I think down by Costco they got more than 6 inches.
Wow.
The Lithia parking lot was flooded.
Yeah, I saw
And
that.
I think this end of town we really got it. The airport reported 3.7, but I said I had more than 3.7
after it had rained a while.
Night.
Yeah.
And that was when it really rained hard.
Well, hey, thanks for that update. Appreciate that.
Well, it's true. Just because it's at the airport, I mean, it is different places, you know.
Yeah, well, true. And that
how
can't happen.
accurate is that?
Top Story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Kelly and Jim. What's going on?
Well,
not much. What are you doing?
We're just sitting here.
Oh, I'm driving commodities around Twin Falls and all over Idaho.
Well, good for you.
Listen, I wanted to bring up that little technology they got where they could spy on us now from everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, what are you doing right now?
Well, Google me.
I'm going to.
Hey, listen, when's it going to end? You know, the invasion of privacy is just it's just crazy.
It's not going to. It's not going to end.
It's going to get worse. And the thing that I thought of after we talked about it is, some states you can't record or videotape without the other person's permission. That's just out the window here. I mean, you're just recording them.
And now we're actually living in some of these futuristic films that we watched in the 90s.
That's right. And thinking, that could never happen. But look at it now.
Minority Report.
The Terminator's just around the corner.
That's right.
Yeah,
All right.
This
is Carl for Twin Falls, and I'll talk to you
Carl,
later.
you be careful driving, Carl.
Yeah, and don't look up because they can get a picture of your face that way. So
I'm gonna look at you, Carl. I'm gonna go to Google Map right now.
No, it's not going to stop. We've just barely seen the beginning.
It isn't. It's
and
ridiculous.
There'll come our kids and grandkids.
Soon you won't have to think either.
That's right. That's true.
Just go in your house, everything goes on.
Spanish families are focused on the social and interpersonal aspects of child development.
Well, their whole culture,
Yeah, the idea of a child going to bed at 6:30 p.m. is totally alien to Spanish parents.
Absolutely.
They were horrified at the concept. Their kids were going to bed at 10 so they could participate in family life in the evenings.
Yeah.
The same is true in Argentina, according to Hopgood.
Well, I studied in Spain in college, and I've been back 3 times. I love Spain.
Yeah. Well, kids here don't. Even if they stayed up till midnight, they still wouldn't participate in the family. They are in their rooms on their computers and their iPods and stuff like that.
These families are awesome, and you wake up, they work. They still have siesta in many parts of Spain, and then you work till about I think they have their big lunch about 2. So you have your fiesta, you have your big lunch with your family, your whole family at 2. So you have family time then. You have your big meal then. Yeah, every day.
Even during work.
Yeah, the work closes down. Maybe not in Madrid now, but in the towns that I lived in, they have a big meal from 2 to 5, and then 5 to 8, you walk the streets and you see people and this and that, and then they don't eat dinner till 10. So, and the kid, and you know what? I never heard a kid cry in public. I used to say that to people. You don't hear kids crying. You never heard a child cry
in Spain
ever. Crazy, and they're just out with their families, and it's family time, and And they have siesta from 2 to 5. Then they work from 5 to 8. Then they walk around. You might have a little tapa, this and that. And then they go home and have dinner at 10.
So businesses are closed from 2 to 5 and then back open from 5 to 8?
Yes. Mm-hmm. 9 to 1, 9 to 2 they close, and then they have their big meal and siesta 9 to... It was awesome. I loved it.
Can you imagine our society trying to...
Love it.
Change like that?
Loved it.
It's time now for the Huckabee Report, brought to you this morning by Waddell & Reed. And you can hear the Huckabee Report each weekday at this time, brought to you exclusively by Waddell & Reed. Laura Nelson, Josh Funk, and Steve Stanger are the financial advisors, and the number is 736-6563. And just a reminder, go to our website, sign up for a chance to have lunch with Kelly and Jill at the Canyon Crest Dining and Event Center and a ride in the limousine.
That's right. How fun is that?
Going to be a lot of fun. So, if we pull your name out of the hat, you could be the big winner.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of wrapping up a couple of quick things that they do in other countries that they don't do in the U.S. For the Aka people in Central Africa, the male and female roles are virtually interchangeable. While the women hunt, the men mind the children, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Therein lies the rub, according to Professor Barry Hewlett, an American anthropologist. There's a level of flexibility that's virtually unknown in our society.
Yeah.
Aka fathers will slip into roles usually occupied by mothers without a second thought and without, more importantly, any loss of status.
Mm-hmm.
There's no stigma involved in the different jobs. This flexibility apparently extends to men suckling their children. Ever wonder why men have nipples? That's why, he says. Man, that's interesting stuff.
Why do they suckle their kid? Because they can. Okay,
I guess
never
so.
mind.
I guess so. But I think here in America, I think we're getting more and more to where the dad is pitching in more than
absolutely.
Than they have in the
are
past.
You kidding me? I mean, in our generation, or my dad's generation, they never let him in the delivery room when they even delivered the kids. Of course, my dad was delivering the babies, not my mom's. But you know what I mean? It's so different.
Yeah, and now they encourage it.
Yeah. And the last thing, and I think this is key, the French kids eat everything. There's set meal times. There's no snacking. That's what we need to be doing. Our kids snack all day long. Actually, adults snack all day long. You know, you feed your kids what you eat. You see Chinese kids, guess what? They're eating Chinese food. You see
Yeah.
Indian kids, they eat Indian food. They're eating vegetables. They're eating rice. They don't know any better. We're like a short order kitchen, you know?
Well, when I was growing up, we had two choices with my mom. It was
Eat or you don't.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it.
Seriously.
And that's the way it ought to be now.
Yeah, and I really think we have to do this with our even with ourselves as adults.
But
You
it's
need
so
meal
handy
times.
now, though, that I think a lot of the families now get their suppers through the drive-through window, and they just ask their kids what they want. So there's no problem of cooking one thing at home, and some of them don't like it. They just get what they want at the
even if you
drive-through
go
window.
through the drive-through, stop at a picnic table and eat it together like a family. Your kids are going to remember their meal times as a bag tossed to them in the back seat of a minivan. How's that for a family memory? Seriously.
You're right, Jill.
It's true. And you need to eat with your grandkids and turn off the TV.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
Do that tonight.
Okay.
Report tomorrow.
Hey, thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow for another great day here on Top Story. See you, Jill.
Bye, Cal.